Deep in the whispering woods lived a wise old owl named Professor Sophocles. He was known far and wide for his wisdom and knowledge. He had big round eyes that shimmered like golden coins, always observing, always learning. His home was a cozy nest, tucked inside the oldest, grandest oak tree, a tree that had stood the test of time. The oak tree stood tall and proud in the heart of the woods, its roots deep and its branches wide. Its branches, like long, knobby arms, reached out to the sky, providing shelter and shade to many forest creatures. Professor Sophocles loved to perch on the highest branch, where he felt closest to the stars and the moon. From there he could see everything happening in the forest, from the bustling activities during the day to the serene calmness of the night. He watched the busy squirrels gathering nuts, always preparing for the winter months ahead. The playful bunnies hopping in the meadows, their laughter echoing through the trees, and the colourful butterflies dancing among the flowers, painting the air with their vibrant hues. Professor Sophocles, with his keen eyesight and even keener mind, knew everything about the Whispering Woods. He was the guardian of its secrets and the keeper of its stories. He knew the best places to find the juiciest berries hidden in the most unexpected corners of the forest, and the coolest streams to drink from, where the water was always fresh and clear. His wisdom was a beacon for all the creatures of the Whispering Woods. One sunny morning, Professor Sophocles was enjoying the warm breeze when he heard a loud, frantic chirping. A small bluebird, flustered and out of breath, landed on a branch below him. "Professor Sophocles! Professor Sophocles!" chirped the bluebird, his little chest puffing in and out. "Oh, thank goodness I found you!" The owl, always calm and patient, tilted his head and peered down at the little bird with his big golden eyes. "Why, hello there, little bluebird," he greeted warmly. "Whatever has you so flustered this fine morning?" The little bluebird hopped from one tiny claw to the other, his worry evident. "It's my friend, the little caterpillar. He's gone missing. We were playing hide and seek and now I can't find him anywhere." Professor Sophocles listened patiently, his head tilting slightly to one side as the little bluebird explained his predicament. Tell me more about this game of hide and seek," the wise owl hooted gently. "Where did you last see your friend?" "We were playing near the big red mushroom patch," the bluebird chirped, his voice trembling with worry. "He was going to hide and I was counting to 10, but when I opened my eyes, he was gone." Professor Sophocles ruffled his feathers thoughtfully. "Don't fret, little bluebird," he said calmly. "A missing caterpillar is a problem easily solved. We just need to use our wisdom, and of course," he added, tapping his head with a wing, "our knowledge of the Whispering Woods." The little bluebird, encouraged by the wise owl's calm demeanour, explained how good his friend was at hiding. He spoke with a mix of pride and worry, his tiny voice trembling slightly as he recounted the many times his friend had vanished from sight. He told Professor Sophocles how the little caterpillar could blend in with leaves and twigs, making him almost invisible. The caterpillar's ability to camouflage was unmatched, a skill that had always amazed the bluebird. "He's green, you see," chirped the bluebird, "and he can stretch himself long and thin like a twig, or curl up small like a berry. He's very clever." The bluebird's eyes sparkled with admiration as he described his friend's talents, but there was also a hint of desperation in his voice. Professor Sophocles listened attentively, his sharp eyes taking in every detail. He nodded thoughtfully, understanding the challenge that lay ahead. He knew that finding a little caterpillar in a big forest could be tricky. The forest was vast and filled with countless hiding spots, each one a potential refuge for the elusive caterpillar. "But the forest is so big," the bluebird cried, tears welling up in his tiny eyes. His wings drooped as he looked around, feeling overwhelmed by the immensity of the task. "How will we ever find him?" The bluebird's voice was a mix of fear and determination, his tiny heart pounding with worry. Professor Sophocles hooted softly, reassuring the worried bird. His gentle hoot was like a warm embrace, calming the bluebird's frazzled nerves. "Don't you worry, little bluebird," he said kindly. His voice was steady and confident, a beacon of hope in the bluebird's storm of emotions. Every problem has a solution, and every lost friend can be found. The owl's words were like a soothing balm, easing the bluebird's anxiety. We just need a plan. With a twinkle in his eye, Professor Sophocles began to formulate a strategy, his mind racing with ideas on how to find the clever caterpillar. The bluebird watched in awe, his hope slowly returning as he realized they were not alone in this quest. Professor Sophocles, using his vast knowledge of the Whispering Woods, came up with a plan. He had spent countless years studying every inch of the forest, learning its secrets and mysteries. He knew the forest like the back of his talon. Every tree, every leaf, and every hidden path was familiar to him. He knew where the sunniest patches were, the shadiest spots, and every nook and cranny where a little caterpillar might be hiding. The forest was a living, breathing map in his mind. Now, little bluebird, the wise owl began, caterpillars, even the best at hiding, leave trails. They can't help but leave clues behind. They leave tiny nibble marks on leaves and little silken threads wherever they go. These signs are like breadcrumbs leading us to them. The little bluebird looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. He realized that finding his friend might not be as impossible as he had thought. He hadn't thought of that. The idea of following the trail seemed so simple yet so brilliant. So you see, hooted Professor Sophocles, we just need to follow the trail. It's a matter of paying attention to the details. It's like a secret path, leading us right to your friend. The forest holds many secrets, but it also reveals them to those who know where to look. The owl then suggested they gather their other friends to help. With more eyes and ears, they could cover more ground and find the caterpillar faster. Many eyes are better than two, he winked at the little bluebird. Together, they would solve the mystery and find their friend. As Professor Sophocles predicted, the little caterpillar's friends were eager to help. Soon, the forest was abuzz with activity as everyone searched high and low. The squirrels peeked into hollow logs, the bunnies sniffed under bushes, and the butterflies fluttered around colourful flower patches. The little bluebird, his heart still heavy with worry, followed Professor Sophocles, who flew slowly, scanning the ground below. "Remember, little bluebird," hooted the owl, "look for anything out of place. A nibbled leaf, a disturbed twig, even the tiniest silken thread." The bluebird chirped, his eyes darting back and forth as they flew over the forest floor. They searched for what seemed like hours, but still there was no sign of the little caterpillar. Section 7. A tiny clue. Just when the little bluebird was about to lose all hope, he spotted something shimmering in the sunlight. It was a tiny silken thread, glistening like a spider web, but much finer and more delicate. "Professor Sophocles, look!" he chirped excitedly, pointing his tiny wing towards the shimmering thread. "I found something!" Professor Sophocles swooped down to take a closer look. "Excellent work, little bluebird," he hooted, his golden eyes gleaming with approval. "This is definitely our caterpillar's doing. Now let's see where it leads." The thread, thin and almost invisible to the naked eye, wound its way through the undergrowth, leading them deeper into the forest. Section 8. A happy reunion. Following the silken thread, Professor Sophocles and the little bluebird came to a clearing bathed in sunlight, and there, in the middle of the clearing, munching happily on a juicy leaf, was the missing caterpillar. "There he is," cried the bluebird, his heart soaring with relief and joy. He swooped down to his friend, chirping and twittering with happiness. The little caterpillar, startled by the commotion, looked up from his leafy meal. "Oh, there you are!" he exclaimed, a sheepish grin spreading across his face. "I was wondering when you'd find me." He'd been so engrossed in his feast that he hadn't even realized how long he'd been gone. Section 9. Wisdom and Listening. Professor Sophocles, watching the happy reunion, couldn't help but smile. And so he hooted. "We learned that even the trickiest problems can be solved with a little wisdom and a lot of listening." The little bluebird and the caterpillar, their adventure behind them, learned a valuable lesson that day. The little bluebird learned that listening to the advice of someone wiser could lead to the best solutions. The little caterpillar, in turn, realized that even the best hiding places aren't so fun when you're all alone. And from that day on, they both promised to listen to each other and to always remember the wise words of Professor Sophocles. Section 10. Owl always remembers. Always remember, hooted Professor Sophocles, wisdom comes from listening, and listening helps us learn and grow. The forest animals all nodded in agreement, etching the wise owl's words in their hearts. And so, life in the Whispering Woods continued, filled with valuable lessons, heartwarming friendships, and the reassuring presence of Professor Sophocles, the wisest owl in the woods. He was always there to lend an ear, offer sage advice, and remind everyone of the importance of wisdom and listening.